All right. Well, first podcast after a loss, which, never fun. And I just yesterday, just wasn't clicking. Like nothing was it just wasn't our day. It wasn't their day. And it's going to happen. And Arizona is loaded. I didn't realize how many weapons they had. I forgot they had AJ Green. They have dudes all over that field. And it was a tough game for us. And obviously I told you guys what happens when Matthew throws a pick, and he threw a pick early, obviously, in this game. I didn't really mind. It was a great play by, I don't even remember who picked it off, but and I love Matthew being aggressive, but when you throw a pick that early, I told you guys I go into my hole, and that's what I did. You just, can't do it against good teams. And it was a lot of things, a lot of things happening. Kyler Murray is a problem. And someone was saying something like someone was comparing him to Barry Sanders. And I was like, okay, let's not go that far. He's not Barry Sanders. Watching him yesterday, dude's legit. And kind of reminds me of Barry Sanders when he runs. So he's a problem, but he's very entertaining to watch. So just a tough day. And if you guys follow me at all, when Matthew's having, or when like a game's like that, I tend to remove myself. It was hot. It was so hot yesterday. Matthew was like, I think I lost I don't know how many pounds out on that field, and it was hot in that stadium. And I didn't feel like watching anymore, and that sucks because it's not like I get quizzed when I get home, but Matthew likes to talk about it. And I want to make sure I know what he's talking about so he can bounce things off me. And not really like he cares what I think, but like I can say, oh yeah, that play, or, oh yeah, when this guy did that, whatever. So when I remove myself, I can't do that. So I hate that, but I also I couldn't watch yesterday. Like when stuff's just not working, it's just one of those days that I was just like, eh. And I remember doing it in Michigan quite a bit. And the people who worked on the floor that our suite was on forever, we had, a suite there for a long time, and we made sure we got the same one, which maybe it was bad luck. I don't know, but I did it anyways. But the people who worked on that floor kind of knew like, oh, Kelly's pacing the halls. Should we offer a cocktail, or what do we do? And then the other game I vividly remember, it was a year that we played the Vikings, and they had I don't know how many sacks on Matthew, and I just could not watch anymore. And I left so they were playing away. I left my house. I texted one of the girls on the team. I said, listen, if he goes down and does not get up, call me. Otherwise, I just can't watch it. I can't watch him be flat on his back. I mean, it was hard to watch. That one was hard to watch, just physically for Matthew. But this game, I just, I felt like, just isn't our day. So I took the girls around SoFi. We found ice cream, and you kind of know what's going on based on the cheers or the silence. And yeah, just overall tough game. And again, he threw that pick early, and I immediately just went into my shell. But he came up to the suite, he's good. He's bumped and bruised and whatever, but that's football. And we have a short week. So he loves a short week because he can just dive into the next game. He doesn't have to dwell on it. But that's going to be a good team for us to go up against again. And I'm excited about Seattle. I'm actually going to Seattle. I love Seattle. I love going. I went there a couple times when Matthew played them when he was in Michigan. And it's such a fun environment. I don't know much about the team right now. I know Russell Wilson is quarterback, and I know they're 2-2. But I do know that stadium gets rocking. So it's going to be a tough game to go in there and, win it, but we'll do it. We got it. So, we have to, so it'll be fun. I'm excited about that game, and we're just moving on to the next. But yeah, I couldn't really talk to Matthew about the game because of the fact that I didn't really watch. Again, I removed myself, which he was fine with. He doesn't like when I do that because he wants to, just chit chat about it. And I can't even chit chat about it because I didn't really watch. But it is what it is. So, yeah, I don't have a guest today. I'm done with the football. Excited for this week, short week. We'll talk more about it on, I guess, Friday when I do the next one. Short week. And also, I don't have a guest for this podcast. I kind of wanted to touch on something by myself, and because no one, here that I know has gone through it, and a lot of women are having to go through it, and it's never talked about. So I wanted to talk about IVF today. And if you haven't needed to go through IVF, I'm not saying this is not for you, because it might give you a little bit of clue into maybe if you have a friend going through it, on how to handle and what all she's going through, which I think it could be really helpful, because it is a very lonely process if you tend to keep it to yourself. And that's what I did. So Matthew and I got married in 2015. Immediately, I got off birth control. I knew I had PCOS. So I was like, okay, might have some issues. So let's get off. Matthew was kind of like, hey, I don't want kids yet. And I want to be married and have, our married life. And I looked at him, I said, hey, we've lived together for 5 or 6 years, 7 years, I don't even know at this point. So don't tell me this isn't pregnancy. Hold on one second. Or don't tell me that you want to be married. We've been married. We just haven't had the title. So anyways, I got off birth. He was like, okay. So I got off birth control, and we started trying. And the trying process for me was by far the hardest part of it all. And I know it's different for everybody. That's something that's not talked about. I think IVF's getting it's getting talked about. It needs to be talked about way more, but the process of trying before you hit the whole, like, maybe I need IVF situation, is so difficult. It is so hard on your relationship. I remember it very clearly. And it was the season we were out of our house because we were doing some renovations to it, and it was taking longer than needed. So we spent the season in a 2-bedroom condo with 2 dogs, and no space. So, and living in condos with dogs sucks. As if anyone has you gotta like take them down. It's a pain in the ass to have dogs in a high rise or a condo. So, rented furniture that was so fucking uncomfortable. Matthew was miserable during this year. So, it was the year that they fired, the OC for the Lions in the middle of the season. We were not in our home. People would come visit, and it was a small place, and it was just, it was a time in life that was not fun. And he was like, I'm getting these people fired. Like, Matthew always blames himself for things. Like, he thinks he gets all these people fired I'm like, you can't do anything about it. It's not you. But he's in that state of mind. And here I am saying, hey, I'm ovulating. We need to have sex. So that's kind of what I want to, like, the whole process of trying is, it's really, really hard on the relationship, and I don't wish it on anybody. The relationship becomes numb. And if you're going through it, I'm so sorry, because it is, I believe, is the hardest part. It was really hard on Matthew and I. You just feel like, I think Matthew felt used. I think that's a great word for it, because he was like, all I'm here to do is to have sex when you tell me. Like, and that's really hard on a relationship. And not to mention, he was going through so many other emotions during this time, and it was not working. We were try and figure out when I was ovulating, and we would try, and it never worked. And that happened for a year. And it really is, it's so hard to do with your significant other. And again, I just don't wish it on anyone. It's a process that, it's hard not only on the woman going through it who is receiving that period every month and thinking of themselves as a failure because their bodies aren't doing, I'm doing air quotes right now, what it's supposed to do. And it's tough on the significant other because they don't know how to be there for their spouse or their person. And they also kind of feel used during it all. So it was a year, it was a fucking hell of a year. Like, it was hard. And it was the year right after we got married. And, you know, I had people asking when we were having kids, and we'll dive into that question later. But emotionally, it was just really tough on Matthew and I. And he didn't know how to be there for me. And I think it's hard for every significant other to understand how to be there for your spouse who's just coming out of the bathroom and her period has started, and you did anything and everything to try and make it work, and it didn't. And that was, we had 12 or 13 months of that. And again, I knew I was going to have some issues. I just didn't know how many I would have. So, and I honestly thought, nah, not me. I'm young. And this is like, infertility, I know there's factors that play into it, and I know age is one of them. And I know there's other things that play into it, like PCOS, which is something I had. But like, I was taking care of myself. I worked out. I was eating healthy. You know, I was all around like a healthy human and could not get pregnant. So it's nothing I can control. And it just is what it is. And I think when you go through this, you have to know, like, okay, it doesn't matter. I mean, infertility can affect anyone. So don't feel embarrassed about it. You just got to keep moving forward and try and figure out the next step. So that's what we did. We ended up going into, one more thing. So it's a 2-bedroom condo, and like, we would have visitors, like our parents would come in, and it was so awkward because I'd be like, hey, I'm ovulating. Like, we have to, like, and he's sitting there and he's like, great. Well, my mom's in the other room. Like, it's just like, it was not fun. I mean, I get like anxiety thinking about it because it was such a miserable year. And again, he had a OC that got fired and a new OC take over in the middle of the season. And it was just, you know, it wasn't good. So, we went in to Dr. Abu-Zeid, who is IVF Michigan in Auburn Hills or Rochester, Auburn or Rochester. I can't remember. And he is, guys, if you're in Michigan and having trouble, go see him. He's incredible. His success rate's great, but he's just a good human. He doesn't make you feel alone because he knows you're not, because that's how he makes his living. So he makes you feel like this is a normal process. I mean, and it is. That's the thing. This is a normal process these days. IVF should be normalized because there are so many people that go through it that don't talk about it. And then you find out later, like, wait, you went through IVF? Like, so I have so many friends going through it. So, and I went through it at 25, and I was young and healthy and everything. And I just couldn't get pregnant. So, you know, we went to see Dr. Abu-Zeid, and he's like, all right, well, we need to just start testing, see what's going on. And a ton of tests. There was one though that I remember, and I'll never forget it. Matthew just got home from like a guy's trip, or maybe it was a game. I don't know. He was asleep in the waiting room. And I went back. It was in a hospital. I went back, and there was a student doctor that was going to perform it. It's basically if they're trying to figure out if my fallopian tubes are blocked. So they pushed this IV contrast fluid through it. And I remember sitting there, laying down, and he's like, all right, we're going to start. And he's trying to push, and he can't push the syringe because there's so much resistance. And he just keeps trying and keeps trying with like all of his, like, trying to push it through. And I am in excruciating pain. And I'm sitting there, I'm laying on the table. I have tears rolling down my face, but I'm like, lock it in. maybe this is what this is supposed to feel like. If you want a kid, get it together. You're going to be okay. Doctor rushes in, like, I guess a minute after this is going on. It felt like 15 minutes of pain. And it's like, if you are getting this much resistance, you have got to stop. So my fallopian tubes were like pretty much blocked. And so the contrast couldn't even get through. And I walked out of that room in tears, not only because of the pain, but I walked into the waiting room, saw Matthew, and he, like, I just, like, I don't know. I didn't lose it because we were in a waiting room with people that knew who he was. So I didn't want to, like, be that person. But once we got to the car, I lost it because I knew, one, that something was going on. And two, I just felt defeated. Like, I'm never having kids. Right. So that was a hard reality. And we would see, obviously, after, and he was like, we'll figure it out. So that, on top of many other things, I wasn't having regular periods. I wasn't ovulating every period. It was just a hot mess. So we decided to attempt the IVF process, and we couldn't do IUI because it just wouldn't work for us. And if you are going through IVF, you know what IUI is, but IUI was not an option. So we were like, all right, let's do this. And side note really quick, like, this whole thing, if you have something going on that makes it tough for you to get pregnant, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. Like, I couldn't, and I don't know why, maybe because I just thought that this was supposed to, I don't know. Like, I was embarrassed to talk about it. I was embarrassed that we couldn't get pregnant. I didn't know what was going on. And now I do know what was going on. And I was embarrassed to tell people. And I don't know why, because it's out of my control. I can't control the fact that I have fallopian tubes that are blocked. I can't control the fact that sometimes I don't ovulate. Like, these are things that are so, like, just never talked about, that you feel alone. And when you're not, there's other people going through the same exact shit. And I did it. I did it to myself. I put myself in a hole and I didn't come out. And so when we decided to go through the IVF process, it was a process. Like, you're ready for a baby, right? You don't know, really. You never know until the baby's there, to be totally honest. And I felt Matthew, like, kind of being like, he wanted kids. I don't know. He just wasn't as in a hurry as I was. But I told him, I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't. And he didn't want to do it anymore either. Again, I told him, I was like, I can't do it anymore. I can't do the whole let's try and not try and then it fail. Like, you're not the one who feels like the failure. I am. And so he agreed. We went to the IVF doctor. And he was like, all right, let's try a round of IVF. Which is brutal in itself. And it's shots every day. I have a blood clotting thing. So I had to be on blood thinners during it all because of all the hormones. So I was giving myself multiple shots a day. And real quick, shout out to the women who do this and have no medical background. I had a nursing background and I still was questioning whether I was doing it right, because these drugs are expensive. Like, you don't want to mess it up, because then you're down a vial and that's a lot of money. And so really tough to get. I mean, you're drawing up medication. It's not like the shots come pre-filled. You have to, like, draw it out. It's a lot. So, giving yourself shots every day, your hormones are raging. I wanted Matthew there. I didn't want Matthew there. It's a lot. Like, you are just kind of a raging bitch for 2.5 weeks, because of what's going on. And you're anxious. You're terrified that it might fail. So there's so many emotions going on during this that you just, you kind of lose yourself. And, so yeah, we did that. There's a 10-day wait, after you take your trigger shot. And for those of you who don't know how IVF works, they inject you with hormones. It helps produce a ton of eggs, and then they give you a trigger shot and your ovaries release the eggs or whatever release it. I mean, again, nursing background is really average. And you trigger shot and the eggs come down and then they go in and they retrieve them. So did that. You're bloated, you're hormonal, you're everything. It's not fun at all. And then you wait. Or you go in a few days later, you get inseminated, which I laugh because Matthew was in camp during this time. So my mom was there when I got pregnant, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but I kind of love it. She was there for the insemination, and then you wait. And you wait like 10 days, and then you go get blood work. And my blood work, I told Matthew that my appointment was actually a day later than it actually was. Because again, if it didn't work, I was going to need to process it on my own, because I am the woman in this situation, and I was the one feeling like the failure. So I did it a day early, just in case. And that way I would just tell him the next day. I'm getting emotional because this whole process was so miserable. IVF not, but like just like all of it, all the emotions that go into it. And luckily they told me your numbers are high, pregnancy hormones there, you're pregnant. So I got to go home and tell Matthew, and he was like, wait, I'm so confused. I thought your appointment was tomorrow. And I was like, nope, it was today. I'm pregnant. And he was like, oh my God. I mean, it was such an incredible feeling. After we had been through that year, of knowing there could be a happy ending to that. And so anyways, we go in for the scan, and we did put 2 embryos in, and we had discussed that with Dr. Awazi. They don't like doing it, which now going through it, I totally get why they don't put 2 embryos in, because you are automatically a high risk, with a twin pregnancy. And I've seen a lot of multiple moms, struggle with the pregnancy, because it's a lot on your body, and it's not easy to do. And it puts you and the babies at high risk, right, when you have more than one. So I get why they did it. I didn't really understand it going through it, because I wanted to give myself the best chance. And I was like, well, the best chance is putting more than one in. And so that's what we did. We picked the best 2 embryos, we put them in. So we went in for our scan, and they said, okay, we see 2 babies. And I was like, oh my God, both took. This is going to be a wild ride. And she goes, well, it looks like they're identical. So she said, it looks like they're sharing. Let me peek around and make sure there's not a third. Because if one embryo took and split, there's still another embryo that could have taken. It did not take. So, but when she was like, let me check, I saw Matthew's eyes, and it was like, oh man. Cause 2's a lot. I couldn't imagine 3. But again, we walked out of there so grateful. When they told us they were in fact identical, we went and got checked that next week again to follow up, and they were like, they were 100% identical. I wanted boys, and Matthew did not. So we have the video when they told us it was girls, and it's cute, and it shows, I was like, oh, damn it. I wouldn't change it for the world now. I was so happy. It didn't really matter. It didn't matter. I was having babies. I didn't care. But the video is cute. Maybe I'll share that. So anyways, turns out we're pregnant. The pregnancy, was good. They cut me off from like everything because of the high risk of having multiples. But I truly look back on that IVF process and am beyond grateful for it, because if we didn't have it, I don't know if I would have any kids. And if you guys follow me, my life revolves around my children and my husband. I am a family person. I've always wanted a big family. And I come from a big family. A big extended family. My family is only 5, but my extended family is a lot. And I truly don't know if I would have any if it wasn't for IVF. I did not have to use IVF for my next 2, but I do think even like the test of trying to get the liquid through maybe opened up a little bit of my fallopian tubes. the process of actually being pregnant kind of reminded my body of how to be pregnant. I don't know. And the next two, I didn't need IVF. So I'm so grateful for it. It's not an easy process. So if you know anyone going through it, I really encourage that you reach out. Because sometimes when the conversation with so if they're married or if they have a spouse or whatever, the conversation that revolves around that house is around when they're having sex or how bad do you want a baby? And I mean, it's always on your mind. So to get them away from their house for a little bit is going to be so helpful, and just calling and talking to them, because they feel like they can only talk about it with their spouse. And that's not, it's not ideal, because they're under so much stress to begin with. So if you know someone going through it, reach out, take them out to dinner, just talk about it, don't talk about it, kind of feel them out, see what they want to do. Another thing too, that I kind of wanted, I got asked, someone said, my friend's been going through IVF and I just found out I'm pregnant. And she's been trying for a long time. I had this happen. It was a friend of mine, and she was scared to tell me because she knew I was struggling. And turns out I was the last one to know, because she just was so sweet and didn't want to hurt my feelings. For those of you that are going through that, if you're pregnant and your friend's been trying for a while, tell them. It hurts so much worse if you are the last one to know, because then they feel like it was almost like they're a burden too. Like what they're going through is like kind of a burden. And I'm saying that in like a way of like, because you can't talk to them. You can't tell them that you're pregnant. They can't, and they're going to be excited for you. It might take a second to process, right? I mean, they're going through a lot. So give them that second. And then 100%, they're going to be so excited for you if they're your friend. If they're not your friend, then you'll know. Okay. So, I mean, I really encourage those that are debating whether telling their friend is the right thing to do because they know they've been struggling. Tell them, please, because it hurts so much worse. And they're going to find out. Okay. You can't hide it. You start having a belly. So it's better just to get it out there. And another thing, when you do tell them, please never say this. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know unless you know everything about everyone's lives who's in the room. Please don't say that you weren't trying when you got pregnant. That's like a dagger to anyone who has been trying and not succeeding. So say it any other way. Say it was kind of a surprise. That just sounds better than we weren't trying. And I've had that happen, and I'm like, okay, got it. You're perfect. Your body does exactly what it needs to do when you have sex, and mine doesn't. And that's like what I go to, right? And it's not their fault. That's where my mind went to. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's going through, who like went through this and had people say shit like that. And you're like, there's better ways to put that. I'll just leave it at that. There's better ways to tell your friend than saying, yeah, I wasn't even trying. We weren't even trying. Like, I fucking hate that. Sorry, that gets my blood boiling, because it just, I mean, know who you're talking to. Have some, oh my God, what's the word? Have some, like, know what's going on around you. I'm forgetting that word right now. Okay. So not lastly, but somewhat lastly, I feel like this is something that is really tough for some people to understand. When you can't ask when people are having babies anymore, you can't do it. I don't care if you think you're being nice or like wanting to know about what's going on with them. You can't ask it, because you don't know everything, and you don't know if they've been trying and not succeeding, or you don't know if they're going through IVF currently. You have no idea. So please stop asking that question, because I got asked, and it was my sweet dad, and my sweet dad thinks he's just being himself. Like, I want to know more about your life, be nice. And he'd be the one to ask me. And when we were trying and not see before he did IVF, I would just laugh it off and I wouldn't say anything. And now after I went through the IVF process and I heard my dad ask, I was like, you can't ask it. You had a daughter go through it. You've got to understand how bad it hurts when someone asks you the question and you've been trying for a long time. So again, he's still a work in progress because my dad's like, I still don't really get it. And I'm like, I don't understand how you don't get it. But I know you're just trying to be nice, but you can't ask anymore. It's so hurtful. Like you go home. Like I feel like I went home after I'd get asked and I'd be like, just like get under the covers and go to bed, because it's like people just expect that that's what like women's bodies just do that. Like you're supposed to do that. And I'm like, some people don't, first of all, some people don't want to have kids, Dad. Second of all, some people struggle to have them, like your daughter. So please guys, stop asking. And I know it's probably like a nice question. You're just trying to maybe make conversation or see where they're at in their lives, but it's just not appropriate anymore. And it hurts. It really does hurt if you are those people that are trying. So, I mean, it makes you just feel like a total failure when someone asks and you have been trying. And I do want to also say, and I didn't do this, but I wish I would have. I had multiple people ask when Matthew and I were having kids, when we were going through it. I mean, it would be my family members, my friends, my people who we saw every day in Michigan, like just kind of like, hey, so like, what are you guys thinking about having kids? Or, you know, and I should have said, we've been trying. We're actually going through IVF because we failed for over a year. And I know that would put a really awkward moment into that conversation, but they might think twice about asking it again to anybody else. And I wish I would have done it. I'm trying to do it now, which doesn't really count because but if you are comfortable with it, say it, because it's going to help the next person who they might ask when they might not be so it needs to be addressed because it's super hurtful. It really is. And I know I keep saying that, but like, I'm like getting teary thinking about it because it's not easy to get pregnant. Like, I don't know. Anyways, it's just not easy. So please stop asking the question. Okay. That's kind of it for my IVF stuff. I just wanted to really quickly talk about it because I feel like it needs to be talked about. Again, there's so many people going through it that don't talk about it. And if you don't, it feels very lonely. And the minute you start talking about it, I guarantee you someone will be like, hey, me too. That and can talk to and can trust and they can relate. And even friends who can't relate because they didn't have to go through it, they'll still talk to you about it. I mean, I wish I would have done it when Matthew and I were trying and failing because it was so hard in our relationship. I wish I would have opened up to my friends about it because they can relate to hard times in a relationship. And that's what it was. In turn, I mean, they might not understand why it was hard because we were basing it around when we had to have sex. And it was just like just numb and you couldn't talk about anything else because that's all that was on your mind, but they'll know struggles in a relationship. Everyone knows that. So, I mean, if you're going through it and you feel comfortable talking about it, talk about it because it's going to help the next person. All right. Whew. Rapid fire real quick. You guys sent them in. So I'm just going to go through them real quickly. Because it's a short week and the schedule when Matthew has a short week, gets really messed up and my kids are everywhere. So I got to figure all it out. And I'm excited to go to the Seattle game. So if you're going and you're a Rams fan, I don't know, cheer loud. I don't know. Okay. Anyways. All right. Let's see. Rapid fire. What was harder, going through IVF or brain surgery? Oh God. Okay. Well, they're both really hard. I mean, God, like emotionally, like the toll it took on my relationship with my husband, I would say IVF, and like attempting to get pregnant was harder. Now like learning to walk again, and not like walk, but like learning my balance and all that again. That's just a whole nother ball game. I mean, it's, that was like personally for me, that was really hard. And physically, but like emotionally for my relationship and my family, which Matthew was my family at this point. And I say family because it was, the IVF process is really hard. So again, if you know someone going through it, please reach out because it's so lonely if you don't. If you could change one thing about Matthew, what would it be? I mean, y'all really want to know the dirt on him. I feel like all my questions are like, what's your pet peeve about Matthew? So let's see. The one thing I'd change about Matthew, besides him being good at fucking everything, and I might be biased, but it's so true. Like, it's exhausting. I'm a really good basketball player. Or I mean, like, not really, but I can shoot. And when we play horse, and he's good, he is good. He's a good shooter too. But like, that was my thing. And when we play horse, he'll fucking beat me because he gets in my head. Oh, he's the worst. Anyways, I don't know where I got. What was the question? What would I change? Oh, let's see. You know what I would change? I am the parent that is totally off the walls. Like, I lose my shit very quickly, and he does not. Like, if something happens and the girls are crying and I'm just like, stop crying. That's what I go to, right? I'm like, stop it. You can't have, I don't know, ice cream. Shh, stop crying. And he's like, okay, tell me what happened. Oh, okay. What do we think? I think maybe this would have been better. Oh my God, y'all. It's exhausting watching him. I'm like, why can't you be the crazy one for once? You know, like, why do I have to always be it? Because I'm not like that. I wish I was. I'm not. I wish I was. But he's just so even keeled that he's like, and I've said this on every podcast, I feel like he's so level-headed that he's talking to a toddler and they're listening. And like, if I did that, it would never work. So sometimes I wish like he would be like the, I don't know, disciplinary, the one that's like yelling. And I'm always that one. So maybe that's what I would change, but like, not really, because he's really good. God, he's a good dad. And he's so patient. Maybe I just really want to change it about myself and I can't. So I want him to be worse. Okay. Anyways, that's what I got for that one. All right. After a loss, get drunk or just go to bed? That's a good question. It kind of depends on Matthew. Like, if I can kind of like feel his vibe a little bit after a game. Like, if he's super fucking pissed off, he will not want to drink or do anything. He just wants to go home, eat dinner, and peace. Yesterday, he was kind of in, he's a little beat up, but he was like, listen, yeah, it was one of those games. Let's move on. And was like, hey, you're going to make me drink alone? And I was like, well, last week I went to sleep in the shower after the game because I was so miserable. So I don't really feel like drinking. But if you really want me to, I will. And he was like, yeah. So we had, but get drunk. No, it's more like have a few cocktails, enjoy the night. Chris made some dinner. It was awesome. Burgers. It was like, just like the perfect after a game meal. We sat and watched the late game. Cooper and Anna Cup came over, which was fun. First of all, Cooper and Matthew talking about football is like a different language, like gibberish. It's wild. But it was so fun. We just hung and had a glass of wine and then went to bed. So I would say like get drunk, no, but like having a few cocktails, I base it on kind of Matthew and what he's kind of giving me the vibe of. So yeah, that's kind of, and then like even after a win, we're not raging because he has to go to work the next day. So it's like, yay, let's, I don't know, have one cocktail or two and on to the next kind of thing. Especially in a short week. So yeah. Anyways, those are the rapid fires that you guys sent in. I did want to announce one thing. Not announce, but I am going to try to figure out these logistics. So as I, look at my kids and realize how fortunate I am to have all of them, I again back at that IVF process, and I'm like beyond grateful for it, right? And I understand how expensive it is. And again, if you guys follow me, you know that the money I make from my Instagram goes to just helping people. It does not necessarily have to be a charity, but just helping people who might need it. And so I want to use some of it to basically, I don't want to say sponsor around, but like if you are going through IVF or you are currently in the beginning stages of IVF, seeing the doctor, trying to figure out what's going on, seeing if IVF is for you or will possibly work for you, and you maybe are not able to afford it. And I know insurance covers it in some states, it doesn't. I want you to email me and just tell me your story. The email's on my podcast page. Email me and let me know, because I would like to help you have that chance. Have the chance of having a family if you really can't afford it. And sometimes all you need is someone to help, so hopefully you guys, or if you know a friend or something, let them know about it, tell them to email in, and I'll go over them. And again, logistics, I'm going to have to figure out the logistics of it. But it's something that I was looking at my kids a few days ago and saying, I couldn't imagine wanting a family so bad and knowing that IVF might work for me, but not being able to afford it. So I want to help out with that. So, email me on the page. And yeah, if you are, going to Seattle, I'll see you there. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun environment no matter what. Tough game, but let's get it. All right. So I hope you guys have a great week. Hope you had a great weekend. And yeah, Rayuda.